My 2-unit pick, let's talk about the Patriots. I'm taking the under. The Colts come to town. You get Colts Patriots at Gillette. The total currently is at 42.5. I'm going under that. Got two bad offenses. The 25th, the Colts are 25th. The Patriots are 27th by EPA. And DVOA is not a whole lot better, if at all. For the Colts, the offensive line is in absolute shambles. Their left tackle has missed 2 straight weeks. Their backup center, Tanner Bortolini, has a concussion. Probably not going to play.
Bortolini.
Yeah. So they're down to a third-string center. I'm not entirely sure who it is because Ryan Kelly's hurt as well. He's on IR with a knee injury. And I forget who the third-string guy is, but I don't think he's played a game since 2022. It's now 2024, almost 2025, so that's a long time to play a very important position. Freeze season's over. This could be their 9th different starting O-line combination this year. Are the Patriots a defense that can take advantage of that? I don't know, but it's not great. They have professional football players by definition.
Yeah.
So there's that. You look at the Colts. Despite they've had the ups and downs of who flip a coin or the quarterback. They've scored more than 20 points just once in their last 7 games. The Patriots, meanwhile, there's a lot of Drake May hype, rightfully so, and I think the Drake May hype is probably based more on 1 or 2 plays per game that looks good than it is the actual full body of work. And not all of that is his fault necessarily, but they have scored more than 20 points 3 times in the 7th game he started. One of those was the Houston game, which had some garbage time. The Rams game, which was somewhat garbage time. They scored 9 points in the 4th quarter in that game, including, or maybe it's more than that, but they scored late with 4 minutes left. Even last week, they didn't go over 20, but last week they scored on a pick six they had late there. So the offense really just has not been humming, hasn't been clicking. They don't have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball outside of what we think Drake May could be. So that's a problem. Again, 42.5, it just feels like unless the Patriots are playing the Dolphins or whoever, the number should probably start at 40 and then go down. So the fact that I'm getting under a key number here of 42, I just think this is 20-13, 20-10. Even if you want to go up to 27-10, one way or the other, I just think this is going to be ugly.
When do we stop giving Drake May the abundance of wiggle room right now?
We're getting close. I mean, he's a rookie quarterback in a bad system with no talent around him.
I think long term he's going to be all right. I think
he's gonna be fine.
I think he's.
But
I
don't know if he's gonna be.
You kind of when you see it sort of deal. I think with him you've seen enough that you're there's something to work with there. But it is to your point, the offense hasn't been much better than it was with Jacoby Brissett. At the end of the day, from a
it's because that was the thing, right? We had this conversation way back.
Just looks different.
We were wearing short pants in August and September. It says, if you could start the year with Drake May, but you're going to have some growing pains over the course of the season, or you can start with Jacoby Brissett, and your ceiling or your floor is extremely low, but he's not going to turn the ball over a ton. And now you put in May, and he's making boneheaded plays you expect a rookie quarterback to do. So there's that. If you want to touch on the Patriots thing too, real quick, you have any takes on the Gerard Mayo thing, where he again kind of just running his mouth after a game in a way that probably didn't sit well with the rest of his locker room? Speaking of the locker room, you got guys kind of guffawing in the locker room after the game.
Yeah,
got some coverage as well.
So I think this week, while largely a throwaway game, it would appear in the grand scheme of things, could tell you a lot about this team because this feels like a game with a Bill Belichick coach team that they would come out and, to your point, defensively would have their way with Anthony Richardson in the Colts offense. I'm not sure this Patriots team does guarantee. That, though.
No.
So I think it's equally on the table that the Colts come out and hang 30 on them because the Patriots just aren't prepared defensively and they're not able to take advantage of inexperienced quarterback play like Bill Belichick coach teams have. I think I just don't think they're being put in a position to succeed week over week. And now it's just it's starting to seep into all areas of that football operation. It's just bad right now.
One thing I will mention, the Jaguars thing in London got a lot of play where he called his team soft. They did come out and win the next week against the Jets, but the Jets at home doesn't look as impressive.
In hindsight, that's probably the best opponent you could have had at that point in time.
Yeah, so there is that. It feels unfair to be like they have to blow out Gerard Mayo at the end of the season. And I think a lot of the grace and excuse making you want to give Drake May, you probably should at least reserve some for Gerard Mayo, who's going through this for the first time. But I think that's kind of the problem, is that I floated this by you. Like, what were Gerard Mayo's priors outside of being an assistant coach? Like, he is the prototypical, and everyone knows this person, right? It's you've not necessarily sucked up, but you just took advantage of the right opportunities, got in the good graces of the right people, said the right buzzwords in meetings, took on the right projects, and like, did you actually do your job well?
Did you have a plan?
Yeah.
Like, what's the plan?
Yeah. Are you just kind of
and that started really as early as day one when he was kind of contradicting himself, talking out of both sides of his mouth. Like, you just were never really sure what the message was, like what was going to be the identity of his team, and it's only gotten worse as the season has gone on. Like, how many times has he backtracked on things?
I think that's an alarming thing, is like he came in and said all these things about what he wanted his team to be. It clearly hasn't been that, and it's like, were you just saying that because we're going to be tough to play against, like the NFL version of like we're going to have a lot of synergy and collaboration? Like, it's like, okay, what does that mean then? Like, how does that manifest itself? I think in like professional sports, it's far more important to be able to put that on the actual field or the court or wherever. Like, so it's like they're not getting any better. That's what's crazy. Like, this is a lost year, and like I think he probably gets another one, but I think they blow out at least one of his coordinators and bring in a quote unquote adult, and like say I wouldn't even blame them if like, hey, we're bringing in, I don't know, Mike McCarthy. If he gets fired in Dallas and they fire Van Pelt, the offense is similar. We bring him in. It's like, hey, if this thing goes sideways in the first 6 weeks, we're firing your ass and we're putting in McCarthy and we'll figure it out after that. So like I think everything's on the table going into the offseason.
What is like what is the redeeming quality of this team right now? Is there one?
No, they don't.
Like, there's not one thing that you can point to as being like, all right, well, they get that to hang their hat on.
Hasn't gone totally off the tracks. They're just bad. Like, it's not dysfunctional necessarily.
Yeah, but some of what came out of the most recent loss, like it's starting to feel like it could head that way.
I just think it's more. I think the locker. Are you talking about locker room stuff?
Yeah,
that doesn't bother me. I think that's like they were down 30-0 and kind of had made peace with the fact that they were going to lose. I think that's just more of like an acceptance of being a bad team. That's not great, but I don't think that's like.
Yeah, I don't think
it's like a revolt or whatever.
Sure, but I think as far as what you wanted to see, like you knew they were going to be bad, or most likely going to be bad this year. You at least wanted to have some level of respectability to where you felt good as the season ended. And right now, unless they go on some run, and it feels like the most likely or the path you would hope for that would be just Drake May plays out of his mind, and I don't think he's positioned to have that sort of run.
That's a good point.
We're going to get to the end of the year and be like, what the hell was that?
Yep.
Like, we're no different now than we were last year.
It's just a lost year.
So, not good.
No.